Cinemajaw is sponsored by Overcast, an independent podcast app that embraces the open world of podcasting instead of locking it down. No exclusives, no premium content, no paywalls. Just a great podcast app for everyone. Get it for free in the App Store.
And we thank them for their support. You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from our respective homes in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
Rye the Movie Guy. And this week on Cinemajaw, Matt, we get ready for the big talent competition as we recite our top 5 favorite talent show movies.
Well, every week is like a talent competition, Ryan, but actually it's, at this point, no competition. I've clearly won years ago. I don't know why you keep trying, frankly.
There is no doubt that Matt Kay is just mega talented over
Great comeback,
there.
dude. Great comeback.
Oh, boy. Good times. No, we're covering our top 5 favorite talent movies, or at least talent competition scenes, which
Right.
is a humongous trope in movies. They use this quite often. There's family competitions, there's singing competitions, dancing, you name it, there's a competition for it.
Agreed. Lots of fun.
And we're doing this because it ties in perfectly with just one of the movies we're reviewing this week.
Yes, that's right. Double reviews for you this week. We are covering My Spy and the tie-in Eurovision Song Contest, the story of Fire Saga, if that's not a mouthful.
The story of Fire Saga will be told here on Cinemajaw. I love doing 2 reviews. Plus, if you heard last week, Matt did Stump the Movie Guy. So we are playing Stump the Movie Guy one more time. Hopefully I get an answer right. Matt will be asking me 3 questions. And, Matt, I don't know if you looked at your calendar. It's July.
Oh, is it? No. You know what? The days are sort of melding together here, Ryan.
Halfway through 2020.
Well, I can't wait for 2020 to be in the rearview mirror, man. It's been a dumpster fire of a year.
Yeah, it has been one crazy year for sure. A new month means a new theme. To recap, we've been celebrating actors, actresses, directors all year long. We pick one to celebrate. A recap of who we have celebrated so far this year. Robert Downey Jr., Anne Hathaway, Pixar, the studio, Michael Shannon, Steve Carell, and just last month, we celebrated Spike Lee. We have a new theme this month, Matt. She has a new movie out. Who are we celebrating this July?
This July, we will be celebrating the great Charlize Theron, Ryan.
Wow, that is great. Well overdue. Well overdue.
Oh.
One of my favorites.
She's absolutely one of my favorites as well. And why don't we start out with a Charlize Theron fact? I got one ready for you, Ryan. Charlize almost starred in director Paul Verhoeven's 1995 critically panned film Showgirls. Theron auditioned for the role and was in the final running for the part, but lost out to Elizabeth Berkley.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
That's crazy on a ton of levels,
You hear these kind of stories where an actor almost played this role. A lot of times it's Tom Selleck almost was Indiana Jones. But on the flip side, you hear some where they avoided an absolute garbage film. And this was the case here with Showgirls. Charlize Theron, her career may have never fully taken off if she was cast in Showgirls. You just don't know.
Yeah. First of all, I can't imagine a world where, and all due respect to Elizabeth Berkley, I'm a big Saved by the Bell fan and whatnot. And I think Showgirls is what it is. It's so bad, it's good. It's one of those, right? But I can't imagine a world where Elizabeth Berkley outacts Charlize Theron, okay? Number one. Number two, let's be honest, Showgirls is a bit of a cheesecake, almost softcore kind of movie, isn't it? There's plenty of skin in that movie. I can't imagine a world where, based on that, you go Elizabeth Berkley over Charlize Theron either, if I'm being completely honest.
I hear you. I love.
I don't know. That's weird.
So what you're saying is that at some point these 2 actresses auditioned, and the actress is like, the director, I should say, is like, well, we got to go with Elizabeth Berkley over Charlize Theron here.
Hey, Charlize, you dodged a real bullet there, for sure.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot here, Matt. You're kicking it off. Your favorite Charlize Theron movie?
I mean, it's easy to say Monster, right? But it's Mad Max, Fury Road. Absolutely. She really owned that. I mean, I guess we sort of got a taste of just how deep her acting well goes in Monster and that transformation she underwent. But as Furiosa, man, she's just the most badass movie hero of all time. I'm a huge fan.
Tough to argue that one. I'll give you mine next week. Give me a little time to pick my
okay.
favorite.
Something to look forward to.
It's going to be a jam-packed jaw, Matt.
As always.
It's going to be a fun month celebrating Charlize Theron. I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Matt. Like many Americans, I was unfamiliar with Eurovision and oblivious to just how big it is in Europe. That changed, however, in May 2018 when I traveled to Lisbon. The city was hosting Eurovision 2018. Obviously, this is because Salvador Sobral won the 2017 contest in Kiev, Ukraine. As you can see, I learned a lot on that trip to Portugal. So having this little history with Eurovision, I was excited for the latest Will Ferrell comedy, Eurovision Song Contest, the story of Fire Saga.
Ever since we were children, we've had one dream.
Winning the Eurovision Song Contest.
All right, everyone. I am Lars. This is Sigrid. We are Fire Saga.
Who wants to hear a Eurovision song?
All of Iceland think
We are a joke.
That's not true.
and
My father is ashamed of me.
No, he's not.
He looked me into the eyes and said, I am ashamed of you.
Maybe he was drunk.
He said, and you might think that I'm drunk, but I am dead sober.
Idiot.
Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams play Lars and Sigrid. They grew up together in Iceland, almost like brother and sister. Well, kind of like a sister. Lars' father, played by Pierce Brosnan, has always looked down on his son and his musical aspirations. You see, Lars and Sigrid want to represent Iceland in Eurovision, a yearly song competition that is widely popular in Europe. For our American listeners, think of American Idol on steroids and having the country rivalry of the Olympics. Oh, and it should also be noted, it's much more flashy, poppy, and borderline ridiculous. And that's what makes it so damn fun. The formula of the movie is nothing new, but what makes it succeed is the tone. They got it just right. They were able to laugh at the event, all the while paying homage to it. The music is silly, fun, and catchy. I was giggling and tapping my toe at each new song that came on. By the end, everyone watching this movie will be cheering for Iceland and hopefully cheering for Eurovision. One name I have not mentioned, Dan Stevens, who plays Alexander, a singer from Russia. He earned the most laughs from me. In the end, I enjoyed this singing comedy quite a bit. Matt, are you a Eurovision newbie? And if so, how did you enjoy your first taste?
Yes, Ryan, I am a total noob. In fact, until I read your review, I really thought it was fictional, like elves. I guess because of the movie, I learned that both things are real. I think actually you nailed it here. What makes this movie work so well is the tone. It's silly without being screwball, romantic without being sappy, and funny without being stupid. Well, not that stupid. Eurovision is a film that I think will stand up to multiple viewings as the comedy and the underdog story set in the same camp as a Revenge of the Nerds or a Caddyshack, even if it doesn't quite hit those high notes every time. We were due for a good Will Ferrell movie. I was so let down by his would-be dramatic turn in Downhill recently that I was nearly done with old Will, but Eurovision refreshed me. Rachel McAdams is a perfect co-star here as well, and her charm and warmth also adds a layer of heart to the film that it could not have done without. But the real star here is Iceland. Cue the humpback whales. The sense of place in the hometown of Lars and Sigrid is palpable. the way the same band plays the same songs in the same bar for the same people night after night, chasing the same dreams year after year. I've been there. And when you escape it all you ever truly want is to get back. And this movie captured that spirit perfectly.
Yeah, I think you nailed that. Talking about how it's not dumb, it borderlines on silly, it's all those things, and I think that is totally what makes it work. There's a commitment here from the characters: Will Ferrell, Rachel McAdams, Pierce Brosnan, all across the board. Even Dan Stevens is the Russian. Like, they're really going for it, and that sells. And talk about due for a Will Ferrell movie, as you mentioned. Totally right. I'll go as far as to say this is the best Will Ferrell film in 10 years, maybe 10 plus years.
Maybe. Where do you go before this, really? Like, the one that pops into my mind is Old School, and that's ancient at this point.
Right. A long time. And yeah, he totally needed a hit like this. We're talking about Eurovision, and you didn't know it existed. So
No.
I'm texting with a friend who was watching the movie, and she said, watching Eurovision. And I said, were you familiar? And she says, oh, is it a real thing? And I thought, wow, I bet there's probably 80% of Americans anyways that are going to watch this movie and still think that this competition doesn't exist, because for some reason it is completely off our radar, even though seeing it firsthand when I went to Lisbon, it's humongous over there. You'd think you walked into the host city of the Super Bowl, to give you an idea of how big of an event it is. It's like the city has closed down the main square to have like a festival village of Eurovision where you can learn the history of Eurovision and all this crazy stuff. They have bands playing and, beer sales going on, and the whole city is overrun with it. And then you realize the scope of it, and you come back to the States and you try to tell somebody, and people are like, Euro, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Like I said, I really didn't even know until I read your review. I watched the whole movie. It never even occurred to me to look it up. Like, no, of course it's not real. The whole movie's a farce. It's just for fun. There could never be something that silly and grandiose, but lo and behold, it's a real thing.
And I don't know if we can ever track down the tape, but while I was in Lisbon and in this festival village, I got interviewed by a television crew that wanted me to play Eurovision trivia. And I think they singled me and my friend out, my
As
guesses,
Americans?
because we looked Americans, and they knew, they were looking for people to get everything like ridiculously wrong. But I got everything so far off, because at that time I was a complete newbie. 15 minutes earlier, I didn't even know Eurovision existed. And now I'm in this village learning about it all. And so I went ahead and I did this 10-question trivia. Obviously didn't get anything correct, but made a complete fool of myself. I know one of the questions, I think, was like, which Norwegian country? And I didn't even answer with a Norwegian country. I gave some other. I was all over the ballpark. Typical American.
Ah, good.
It was fun. But yeah, the movie, the music, we have to highlight here, is outright silly, right? So some of the songs are meant for laughs, but they
Volcano Man.
Oh, Volcano Man's my favorite by far. I want to see a full video of Volcano Man, but the music works also. I think that's a key to the movie. So even when it's playing, yes, it's absolutely silly, but you can't help but sort of, sway in your chair and go along with it. It really works.
It's poppy. It's upbeat. It's fun. All the characters. One of the cool things about this movie, trying not to spoil anything, but they set up a villain, and even the villain's kind of fun and never really gets to a point where things are really bad. You can kind of enjoy the villain as well. The music is fun. It's poppy. It's got that dance like Waterloo, the ABBA stuff. It's great. Who doesn't like that stuff?
Yeah, there's a middle song sequence in there where, and this is a treat probably so to people who are fans of Eurovision, because once it finished, I was like looking stuff up and research on the movie, and there are a ton of cameos from actual artists that won Eurovision through the years in that middle song sequence, which all is going to go over our heads because we don't know these artists. But if you're European and you've followed some of this Eurovision through the years, it'd probably even be more of a treat for you to see them make cameos and singing in this humongous number right in the middle of the movie.
I'm actually glad to hear that, because I thought while I was watching it, like the way they revealed some of these characters, I'm like, who is that? This is a cameo I should know, or it's some sort of in-joke that I don't get. So now I understand, like, these are Eurovision celebrities that I'm just not familiar with.
I really bought the whole relationship between Pierce Brosnan, Will Ferrell, and Rachel McAdams and Will Ferrell. The way everything worked out of those three, and them being in Iceland, is odd as that all sounds, it worked in this movie.
It did. It worked tremendously well. Pierce Brosnan is absolutely hilarious in this. And there was even like a couple of moments where I was like, is that Pierce Brosnan? Like, I wasn't 100% sure right at first. The one thing I will say, though, and let me get your opinion on this, is Will Ferrell just a little bit too old for this?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, it's tough because obviously this is Will Ferrell's baby. If you're looking at the credits, he I think wrote it and produced it and stars in it. So my understanding is he fell in love with Eurovision once discovering it and seeing how crazy it is and poppy it is and fun. And so this was sort of his baby. So of course he wants to star in it. But to be honest, I'll throw it in the jaw box, the age difference between Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams, because I don't even know if I buy them as a couple, really. But in the movie, it somehow works enough that you believe it.
Yeah, it worked enough in the movie. It's fine. I mean, there's a suspension of disbelief there. Will Ferrell, I would say he's probably in his mid to late 50s, like 56, 57. And Rachel McAdams is probably in her early 40s, 43 maybe. That's my guess.
I wrote those down, so we'll compare when we open up the jaw
right.
box. But you nail the ages a lot of times, so you might have that right. So you got a movie poster quote for me?
I do. Eurovision will have you singing "Ya Ya Ding Dong."
Oh, do I love it. I actually might rewatch the movie because I love that song.
Yeah.
So funny. I went with, we'll make you buy a Fire Saga poster and look into airline tickets to Iceland.
Dude, I tell you what, I really want to go to Iceland.
Same here. That's why I put that down as the poster.
Hey, we'll make a jaw trip or something.
I love it. Yeah. So this is great. How many jaws?
I give this one 3.5 jaws. It's a solid comedy that, like I said, I think it will stand the test of time. Like, we can rewatch this in 10 years and it will be just as funny.
I went 3 jaws, but I was a huge fan also. I just hope that a lot of people watch this and actually realize how much fun Eurovision is. I should mention that company I work for in my day job is a European-owned company. So I work with a lot of Europeans, actually more Europeans over here than actually Americans. After that year that I went to Lisbon and saw Eurovision, the following year when Eurovision was going on, I followed it a little bit for the first time. And just mentioning it to people in the office that I knew they were getting together. I heard them saying they were getting together for like a watch party over a weekend to watch the Eurovision. And I commented on it, and I got huge points in the office because they're like, oh my God, this American knows Eurovision. So,
and you're watching soccer, you're following Eurovision. Look at you, Ryan.
Unbelievable. 3 jaws from Rye the Movie Guy, 3.5 jaws from Matt K. Eurovision is on Netflix. Please give it a stream. If you have already, let us know your thoughts. Shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw or an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. Because Eurovision is a big song contest, it gave us the idea of the talent show concept that pops up in movies all the time. That's our top 5 theme this week. Matt, you want to get started?
Sure. My number 5 comes from director Garth Jennings. Came out in the year 2016. Remember that year? It is an animated film about a bunch of talking animals that get together to have a singing competition. Funny enough, the movie is called Sing.
I've never seen this movie.
You didn't see Sing?
I did not see Sing.
It's very funny. It's very heartwarming. There's a lot of really good music. They didn't do any original music, so it's all like pop tunes that you know and love. Like there's Springsteen, there's definitely some Britney Spears, and all the characters. I think one of the great things about a competition show is getting to know the contestants and watching them overcome their own personal hurdles, getting over the goalposts that they set for themselves, you know, and overcoming the things that hold them back. And there's a lot of that going on in Sing. My favorite characters are a couple of punk rock hedgehogs. And oh man,
Go figure.
Right? But they wind up being so much more than just their like guitar bashing, exteriors. And Seth MacFarlane does a couple of voices here too, and Matthew McConaughey as well, Reese Witherspoon, Scarlett Johansson, Taron Egerton, who would go on to do Rocket Man. So it's got a great cast. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I might check it out. It was always, I remember when it came out, and it was one of those, you're always trying to watch as many movies as you can that particular year for top 10 lists. And Sing was like, I remember it like, oh, if I get a chance, I'll see Sing. And I just didn't. And then once that year ended, I forgot all about it until you brought it up.
Yeah. Next time you're like visiting family with young kids, it's definitely one to pop on that you'll also really enjoy.
Gets us started with a 5 pick. For my 5 pick, I go with 1992. So going back a little ways here. And it was a debut from a director I admire quite a bit, Baz Luhrmann. And this first film that he directed was actually based on a stage play that he created as well. And the name of that film is Strictly Ballroom. And yes, Matt, it is about ballroom dancing.
It's a competition?
And it's a competition,
okay.
Absolutely. And it's ballroom dancing, and it's, think of the contests now. What is that celebrity dance?
Oh, Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, Dancing with the Stars is what I was thinking. Think how that's all flashy with the ballroom dancing, right?
Mm-hmm.
This obviously predates it by about, 20 years. I don't know why I originally saw this movie. I think actually, if I had to take a guess, it was in college, and it was part of the film class. I think they showed us then. Didn't know who Baz Luhrmann was, but the movie, even if you're not into ballroom dancing, it's one of those where you can start to cheer for the underdog, because this guy starts to do more like modern type dance moves in the ballroom setting where people are very traditionalists and they can't stand that he's trying to change his dance moves in any type of way. And then you have the girl that he's with is just, like a plain left-footed dancer, not good. And he gets her going. It's great. And it ends with the competition, where there's obviously a fight. You always love this kind of moment. It seems like it's not going to happen. And then he runs after her, gets her in the hallway, and he's like, "You still want to dance with me?" And it's spur of the moment, and he brings her back out onto the big stage. It's a crowd pleaser. It really is. It's a good one. Strictly Ballroom.
Man, you had me flashing back to the Dirty Dancing Nobody Puts Baby in a Corner scene.
There you go.
Into our number 4s. And I'm going with a film that came out just last year, 2019, The Good Old Days, starring Viola Davis, Allison Janney, Jim Gaffigan, and introducing McKenna Grace as Christmas Flint. I'm talking about Troop Zero.
Yeah, Troop Zero.
The movie itself it's okay. It's pretty good. I think we gave it a pretty positive review here on Cinemajaw. But the talent show at the end of the movie is great. The whole premise of the movie is set up around this talent show. Christmas Flint, this little girl, wants to get her voice on the golden record that's going out with the Voyager spacecraft into, interstellar space, right? And she has a shot at it by winning her Girl Scout talent show. And she's a total misfit, has no friends, so she has to put together her own Girl Scout troop, which includes a boy and a bunch of other misfits. And they practice and they practice and they get to this talent show. And what transpires on the stage, it's a shit show, basically, but it's also really inspiring at the same time. It's like, the perfect end of an underdog movie where they lose but win at the same time. It's one of those. And I think they did that quite well.
And I did like how they tie in, obviously, David Bowie, who was, sort of a star man himself, if you will. And obviously this was a record that was going on the golden record to go out onto the Voyager. So yeah, I like that total tie into it as well. Good pick.
It was a good movie. All right, what do you got?
My number 4 is actually a documentary.
Ooh, nice.
Why not go with a documentary with a fun and interesting competition? And this one came out in 2006. The film is called Wordplay.
Oh, I applaud this.
It was directed by Patrick Creedon, and it features Will Shortz, the editor of the New York Times crossword puzzles. The first half of the movie is a lot of like notable celebrities and people you would recognize talking about how they actually work the crossword puzzle in the New York Times, which is fascinating in its own right. And I'm terrible at crossword puzzles. Are you good at crossword puzzles, Matt?
No, I wouldn't say I'm good at them, but I also wouldn't say terrible. I'm okay.
So I'm awful. But the second half of it has to do when they go to the crossword puzzle tournament, and it's the American crossword puzzle tournament, and the top puzzle solvers compete for a prize of $4,000, and it turns into a pretty dramatic competition that we get to see unfold right in front of us, of these strange characters that can solve these crossword puzzles in a matter of mere minutes. I would look at this thing and maybe take 3 hours to run through one of these puzzles. These guys are solving it in 5 to 10 minutes. It's insane.
That sounds really, really cool. That reminded me of a book that I think at one time was being talked about to be turned into a film called Moonwalking with Einstein. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
If the title sounds weird, it's on purpose because it's about mnemonics and how to remember things. And the story is of a journalist who is just interviewing people for the World Memory Championships. They show him some of their techniques, and I think the next year he comes back and wins the whole thing. The journalist does. So they basically take him under their wing. It's a good book.
Yeah. So my number 4 pick, Wordplay, worth a spin if you're into crossword puzzles and you like a good documentary.
Good pick, Ryan. Good pick. Also reminds me of Bad Words, that Jason Bateman.
Yeah, that was a spelling bee, though, wasn't it?
It was. Back over to me at number 3. I'm also throwing in a documentary, and it's one that we recently discussed and you haven't seen, and I think you need to see this movie. I really do, because you're a big, big fan of Tetris. And the name of the movie is, I love this title, The Ecstasy of Order. And then the subtitle is The Masters of Tetris. It is a movie about the people you imagine when you think of grown men who have devoted their life to playing Tetris are the exact people that are in this movie. And I don't say that in a derogatory way. These are, geniuses in their own way, but many of them are socially disconnected, and not all of them, but it's just an interesting character study of these guys. And they get into the game, they get into how it was developed and how it almost didn't make it out of Russia, and how, the state tried to clamp down on the intellectual property of Tetris, all kinds of interesting things. But then when you see the game being played at this high level where milliseconds are between victory and total disaster, it's fantastic. They talk about how you see the Tetris pieces falling in your dreams and stuff, which is an experience I've had, and I know you have as well. We've talked about it. It's a really interesting and fun documentary about the video game.
I'm going to throw it in the jaw box to see if it's streaming anywhere, because I'm interested. Might watch it tonight. Swings it over to my number 3, and I get off the documentary slate here, and I go back to a comedy that starred Hugh Grant and a young Nicholas Hoult. Came out in 2002, About a Boy. And
It's about a boy, but what's it called?
I've talked about a Boy a couple of times, and I believe they even made a TV show based on it. But in 2002, Nicholas Hoult plays this young kid who's going to get in the school talent show, and he's going to sing a song that his mom, who's played by Toni Collette, absolutely loves. And the song is "Killing Me Softly."
I love that song.
It's a great song, but if you can imagine, like, a 10-year-old kid singing it, and an awkward 10-year-old kid singing it, it's not going to come off well in the school competition. But his mom is pushing him to go sing that song, and Hugh Grant is this single guy who can't get into a relationship, doesn't want to be kind of like connected with anybody, but he connects with this kid. Don't want to give the whole movie away, but at the end with the talent show anyways, he can just foreshadow, oh my God, of course, it starts to go horribly wrong. And he comes out of the curtain, Hugh Grant playing guitar to try to save the day, at least take the heat off the kid. It's a wonderful movie moment, great talent show, an absolutely great movie. If you haven't seen About a Boy, I can't recommend it enough.
In the pantheon of great Hugh Grant roles, last year's Matthew McConaughey collaboration notwithstanding, would you say this is better than Paddington 2?
It's different because I think this was before Hugh Grant is self-aware that he's Hugh Grant. And that's where we're at now. So it's sort of that golden age of this Hugh Grant character. This was still Hugh Grant playing just a cool character, if that makes any sense.
It does. Basically what you're saying is before he stopped taking himself so seriously.
Right. But this was actually one of my favorite Hugh Grant movies. And this is, obviously 2002, back in more the Hugh Grant romantic comedy heydays. But this was one of my favorites.
And into our number twos we go. I'm going with a live action movie from 2003 starring the great Jack Black. And I'm talking about a movie that spawned its own schools that are across the nation, the School of Rock.
Great one. I forgot all about this one. Not written down even for an honorable mention for me. And it was just an oversight because I love this movie.
School of Rock is great. Dewey Finn is Jack Black's character, and Miranda Cosgrove is introduced here, who would go on to some iCarly fame on Nickelodeon, and she's become a sort of a celebrity in her own right. But this is the first film that she was in. These are little kids. He poses as a substitute teacher and teaches the kids the only thing he knows anything about, which is rock and roll. Then finds a battle of the bands, which is his road to salvation since his band was kicked him out. So, he hatches this whole plot to get the kids there. He needs to teach them all confidence and stage presence and some real life skills. He winds up accidentally teaching them along the way. And again, the ending is so heartwarming, how each kid has their own role. And this is something I talked about earlier, how they each have to get over one particular thing. And this movie creates those character arcs in a really fun and funny way. The journey to getting to the battle of the bands at the end of School of Rock is a true pleasure. It's a great movie.
Sure is. Love that one. My number two pick is a singing competition. This one, 2012. And when we're talking modern day singing competition movies, this is now, I think, spawned 3. I'm going to throw it in the jaw box how many there are. But I'm going with Pitch Perfect for my number 2 pick.
Haven't seen any of them.
There may be 4. There's either 3 or 4. I've lost a little track. But the first one came out in 2012. And Anna Kendrick, I think at this point, she had starred in like Up in the Air. We started to get to know her a little bit more. But this was her starring, singing in a movie. Again, poppy. The band in the movie is the Bellas. And it's a cappella. So it's just an interesting style of music to begin with. The songs that they choose, because they're using pop songs to cover a cappella style, is just so interesting that the first time it was like, wow, what a smash hit. You knew they were going to make a sequel. And I saw the second one. I don't know if I've seen the third, and if there is a fourth, I don't know. But fan favorite type movies. I mean, the kind of movie that if you watched it, it would be hard to find somebody that doesn't like Pitch Perfect. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah. Like my nephew, Max, is really into theater. And I remember when the third or the fourth or whatever the most recent one is came out, it was a big event. Going to see that movie in the theater with his family, like that was what he was doing that day. So these have permeated the collective zeitgeist in a very special way, even though I somehow have not seen them.
Yeah, they're great. You would like them because I know you like music. You would be a fan. And again, they're just so easy to cheer for.
Yeah, maybe I'll throw one on with the fam. Give one a spin. Into our number ones we go. Speaking of introductions, this movie introduced us to Little Rock herself, Abigail Breslin, in the wonderful 2006 dramedy Little Miss Sunshine. The whole movie is fantastic. This is where Alan Arkin gets the character that he's been playing ever since, according to Rye, the movie guy.
It's true. It's true.
Steve Carell is also fantastic in this movie as the suicidal or at least severely depressed uncle who was a disgraced professor. His whole story is hilarious. Each one of the characters has a great story. And Toni Collette again as the mom. It's just a fantastic cast. But the talent show at the end, nobody has any idea. I don't know how, but nobody has any idea that the grandfather who is known to be on drugs has been coaching the little girl in her number, what she's going to do when she gets up on stage. And when she gets up to do her talent show, her little dance, and she's wearing her leotard, she does a dance that is completely inappropriate and just shocks the hell out of everyone in the audience. But, like Hugh Grant with the guitar, rather than let her crash and burn up there, they stand up and start dancing with her. And I think, yeah, is it tropey? Perhaps. And it was probably tropey when Hugh Grant did it too, but it's just so inspiring when you see people bond like that and kind of say, screw you to the status quo. It's inspiring is what it is.
Oh, there's no doubt. That's such a classic scene. At this point, I was figuring that it would be your number one. That is why I left it off my list. Love that pick. Absolutely. My number one, we go way back to 1984, a movie that we owned as a family on VHS. And when I mention that means I've seen this movie several times. I probably haven't seen it in 25 years. Good shot at saying that, but I could still tell you certain scenes and lines of dialogues and characters' names because it's just ingrained in my head. 1984, Revenge of the Nerds.
I rarely clap at your picks, Ryan.
And speaking of that, let me say, everybody clap your hands, and everybody clap your hands.
Clap your hands, everybody, and everybody clap your hands.
Clap your hands, right?
Yeah.
Poindexter's hair is spiked. The spotlight is shining in on him. It looks absolutely spectacular, and he starts to play that violin. Listen to it here. Oh, man, that gets me in the mood. And in 30 seconds of screen time, the nerds became the coolest kids on the planet.
Hey, man, I think you're right. It certainly reversed things, didn't it? Right? Because I don't want to say that there had been underdog stories before Revenge of the Nerds, but something changed in school culture where suddenly geek was chic, and I think that that's been going on ever since, and we can all point to Revenge of the Nerds as the catalyst.
There's many things. Also, I was rewatching the scene prior to, and right at the start of it, they're using some type of like weird electronics to try to get the sound, and I swear to God, it's Radiohead-esque what they're playing around with, like with the electronic sound. Everything about the ending of Revenge of the Nerds is so key when you're talking about a competition, and it is heavily sports related as well, but then it has this talent section to it as well.
Right. Which of course the nerds ruled.
Yeah. And to see them come up aces is just the best. And everybody gathering around them singing "We Are the Champions." You just can't end a movie that good anymore.
No.
It's the stuff of legend.
And look for a young John Goodman in the role as the villainous coach.
He sure is. Yeah.
Yep.
That was my number one, but we do have a few honorable mentions. There's a really big one here that was not mentioned that I listed as an honorable mention because I thought, well, this is either Matt's number one or two, and it wasn't listed by Matt K.
What'd I miss?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, that's a classic, dude. You're absolutely right.
True story on this. I've only seen Napoleon Dynamite one time, but they'll play that dance sequence when he goes to the talent competition and he does that crazy dance. They'll play it at like baseball games.
Yeah, it's like a meme that you see it in GIFs and stuff.
And it's hysterical. After you've had a few drinks, doesn't even matter what they're playing. You see it on the board and everybody starts laughing. It's a great time. Silver Linings Playbook. It's been coming up a lot on the show lately. Silver Linings Playbook. There is a dance competition theme throughout. That's why she's even asking him to come over, as always, to practice the dance. and they do finally do the big dance at the end of the movie. Bring it on. I know you're a big fan of cheerleading movies, Matt. I know
who isn't? Yeah.
this is the fillet of cheerleading movies. You just don't get better than this. This is Kirsten Dunst. And I remember watching this with a big group of friends, and for some reason, it worked. I don't know how this worked, but I was like cheering at the end of the movie. And let us not forget, Donnie Darko has a really interesting school talent show going on where it's like the youngest Darko, like his young sister, and that's interlaced with Donnie Darko burning down the building while she's singing some weird song. It's great.
I got to rewatch Donnie Darko, man. That's a great movie. It's a good Halloween spin. The only one that I had that we did not mention was Coco. And only because I can't really remember the competition angle of it very well. I know that he enters the competition for the Day of the Dead festival, and that's sort of the catalyst that gets the whole plot of the movie going. But I don't think that was a huge part of the plot.
If we missed your favorite talent show movie scene and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw, or you can always email us feedback@cinemajaw.com. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have a review of the family film My Spy, plus a round of Stump the Movie Guy. Stick with us.
In honor of Charlize Theron Month, we give you this clip from Bombshell.
Hannity tweeted, I talked to hundreds of women at Fox this week, both on air and off. They say it all BS.
Brit Hume, too.
Brit?
Why didn't Gretchen quit and sue instead of suing only after she got fired? Why didn't she complain?
Why didn't she complain? Really?
He means the anonymous hotline.
There's a hotline?
Yeah?
I did the harassment seminar twice. I never heard about a hotline.
Because it's bullshit. They have a contractual right to monitor our communications. A hotline in this building is like a complaint box in occupied Paris. It's like we're telling women, go on, speak up for yourself. Just know the entire network is with Roger. No one will believe you. They'll call you a liar. Oh, and as for your career, you want assignments and airtime? Go ahead. Call the paranoid man who decides your salary a pervert, and do that on a fucking anonymous hotline he controls. On a phone, he has a contractual right to record. Jesus fucking Christ. Do you think women are idiots? It's like somebody stripped you naked and they want you to walk through this office just to fucking prove it.
Okay. Can I see you for a minute?
What the fuck was that?
I don't know, but I liked it.
And we are back on Cinemajaw. Matt, before we get to our review of My Spy and before we get to Stump the Movie Guy, we threw a few items into the jaw box. Let's open up that jaw box.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
The box.
What's in the box?
First one in there was, we were talking about the believability of Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams, A, as a couple, and B, is just Will Ferrell a little too old for this particular role. And that got us thinking, how old are these two actors and actresses? Clearly in the movie, they're supposed to be just a few years apart.
Yeah.
He's
three,
supposed to
maybe.
be like, 2 to 3 years older. Well, Matt, you guessed Will Ferrell was 56.
Mm-hmm.
His actual age is 52.
Okay. Sorry, Will.
Rachel McAdams, you guessed her actual age was 43, and she's 41.
Let's closer on Rachel.
Yeah. So it's a 11-year difference between Rachel McAdams and Will Ferrell. And in the movie, they're supposed to be, you get the feel for like a 2 to possibly 3 years apart.
Yeah.
Again, it's the movies. It works enough, but you were right. I mean, it was borderline. Will Ferrell's too old for this. On to the second one, the Tetris movie entitled Ecstasy
Of Order.
Yes, Ecstasy of Order. Is it streaming? Because I thought maybe I'd watch it after we got done with this recording. It's not. As far as, not available on any of the normal streaming, subscription platforms. You could probably rent it out there, but not part of a subscription. All right. Pitch Perfect. I said, I know there's 3. I thought there might even be 4. I double checked it. No, there are only 3 Pitch Perfects. A lot of rumors out there that there will be a 4th one, but as of now, only 3 Pitch Perfects out there.
They're really dragging this thing out, huh?
See what happens. I didn't see the 3rd, so I don't know how it ends. Maybe it ends with a cliffhanger, and we need to have a number 4. So who knows?
Or maybe is it one of these where they refresh the cast each time and it's like a new story?
Well, I know they bring in Haley Steinfeld is involved in, maybe she comes in 2. So I know they've added characters throughout, but
makes sense.
All right. I think that's everything in here. Let's close the jaw box.
All right, Ryan. My Spy. Generic title? Check. Cute kid meets tough guy formula? Check. Bodybuilder who actually has decent comedy and acting chops? Check. My Spy checks a lot of boxes that might make it terrible, but can this covert rom-com steal the plans to our hearts? Or is this mission disavowed? Ryan and I deployed to Amazon Prime to find out.
Are you CIA?
How'd you get in here?
Oh, because she has a camera, she might be streaming.
If Kim finds out we got made by a 9-year-old, my career's over.
What's the option?
Kill her. Make it look like an accident. Yeah, maybe the stairs.
What? Wow, still recording. We can cut a deal. I want you to teach me how to be a spy.
But just to be clear, this is a one-time arrangement. Never again.
Pinky promise. So what's first? Shooting range, obstacle course, or how to walk away from an explosion?
A lie detector test. I can smell a lie. Endorphins release an odor, and the ultimate tell, slightest blink of an eye.
You mean like this? JJ, I admire all of your tattoos.
Stop.
JJ, I believe you that you've never taken steroids. Damn, she's good.
In lesser hands, I think My Spy would have been a true suckfest. But luckily, there's just enough talent behind this formulaic script for the movie to escape the plane dangling off the edge of a cliff. Here's the mission briefing, Ryan. JJ, played by Dave Bautista, is a CIA agent who, after a botched mission, gets reassigned to what is essentially a babysitting job with his new hacker partner, Bobby, played by Kristen Schaal. Once the duo gets set up, spying on a single mom and her precocious daughter, wouldn't you know it, these seasoned agents are immediately made by the 9-year-old girl who extorts them to keep the secret in exchange for secret agent training. Along the way, the hard exterior of JJ begins to be melted by the little girl and her mom. Aww. In the hands of director Peter Siegel, who's previously given us gems like Tommy Boy, 50 First Dates, and Naked Gun 33 1/3, My Spy has the right agent in its headset. It somehow avoids most of the sugary sweet cliches and aw-shucksiness that would have otherwise relegated it to the family direct-to-DVD shelf. The PG-13 rating allowed just enough action and adult humor to give the movie a bit of bite, and the cast of truly talented people didn't hurt either, as the more corny jokes in the hands of these actors came across pretty well. I have to mention Chloe Coleman, who plays young Sophie. She was spectacular and totally believable. She's one to be watching in the future. What do you think, Ryan? Is this a formulaic cheese fest that's beneath Dave Bautista, or was it a heartfelt comedy that plays to his strengths?
Wow. Originality, don't look for it here.
No.
Dave Bautista is just not as charismatic as Dwayne Johnson, but he tries his hardest here to make it work. And I agree with you. Chloe Coleman is fantastic and helps pick up the slack. Their chemistry saved this from being a total dud. I felt watching it that I was seeing numerous scenes and themes rehashed. They even try to make fun of this for the most part, most notably when there's a fight right in front of a running airplane with a gas leak, a la Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they just call it out as, am I missing something here?
Why is this so familiar?
It's funny, but a little lazy in a way too, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a family movie available at home during quarantine, slight pass here. But if you don't have kids, this isn't worth your time. I wouldn't recommend single jawheads out there looking for a good movie to necessarily watch My Spy. But I think for a family film, it did enough to watch with, the whole family together. It'd be fun.
Yeah. So I think what happened here is it was just a terrible script that got handed to a pretty good director and a very good cast. And boom, like we have a movie that's a little better than it should be by all accounts. And you're right. Total, like, so many tropes and things we're very used to seeing, but they do call it out. There's one joke, though, that really made me realize, oh, this movie's actually very self-aware. And it's Dave Bautista's is let's just say it's during a tender moment with the mom character, finds a dove on the ground and he rescues this dove. He picks it up and she's like, is it sick? And he's like, no, he just needs to be picked up and put over here. And, and then a hawk swoops in and grabs the dove. I was like, oh, okay. This movie just rescued itself because it really knows what it's doing. That was just the wink that it needed.
Yeah. The movie is at least trying to be fun, right? It's got the jokes. It's in on most that it's not original. It works somewhat in that sense. One character you didn't mention is played by Ken Jeong, who also adds quite a few laughs. So I think the cast in general was pretty solid here, but it's like the writing and the rehashed themes and jokes and action sequences, quite frankly, we're just like, all right, is there anything here that's a little special or a little original? And there I would say no, it fails.
I get you're right. You can really pin this all on the relationship between Dave Bautista and Chloe Coleman. I don't think the movie works at all without them. And have we seen that a million times? Yes, we have. But I think you're right. Bautista's no Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but he is pretty damn funny. I mean, he's great as Drax in the Guardians movies. And I don't know, like, I liked seeing him here. I think he's good. I think we've got good things coming from Bautista.
I think what would have made this movie a little bit special for me is if they would have at least tried action sequences that were new and exciting and thrilling in some fashion. The ones that we do get are rehashed action sequences.
And Uzi falling down the stairs?
That's no fun.
Oh, and how many times have we seen it? If you see an Uzi, you got to think at some point during the movie, it's going to get dropped down a flight of stairs.
Yeah. You got a movie.
By the way, I want to throw an Uzi down a flight of stairs one time just to see what happens. Because I don't think it actually is going to go off. I think that's just a trope.
Ask the Mythbusters.
Yeah, we should call them out of retirement and find out. Okay, I got one. The intelligence is in. My Spy is mediocre.
I went along those same lines. I went for looking for the perfect middle of the road family film. Look no further.
How many Jaws you giving this?
This is right between 1.5 Jaws and 2 Jaws for me.
So where'd you land? Are you saying
after discussing this with you further, I'm going 1.5 Jaws.
All right. That's exactly where I'm at too. 1.5 Jaws. See, I think 2 Jaw movies are really actually good movies, even though that's kind of in the middle for us on a 4 Jaw system. And this, it's not a good movie, but it was good enough. It was pretty okay.
And again, this comes down to, I know we've talked about this a few times now, of the expectations of a movie that's streaming. I think we're being light on the movie because all we did was press play on the remote control. But again, imagine if you took your family, Matt, of 4 and paid for movie tickets and you saw My Spy. How disappointed you would have been.
Oh, dude. Well, I don't know. I saw the Will Smith animated movie, speaking of spies, where he turns into a pigeon. Did you see this thing?
Yeah, Spies in Disguise.
Now, let me tell you, that was a real piece of crap. Oh my God.
I wanted to see that too.
Yeah, now you would have been absolutely aghast. You would have been so pissed off for having wasted your time. That was a total bunk movie. At least this one, if I had brought my family out to the theater I would have been like, whatever. At least I got some popcorn.
1.5 Jaws for My Spy. Let us know if you've seen it. Shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw or an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. Oh, man. I hear some music, and that music can only mean one thing, man.
It's time to play Stump the Movie Guy. Now, last week, Ryan, I put together a bevy of questions that I thought you should know the answer to, but would not. This week, I'm going with a different theme. I am going with something that I know a lot about, and you probably don't. But I'm nervous because I think I made these a little bit easier, okay?
I hope so.
So the theme this week is superheroes, okay? Tom Hiddleston has delighted us as the villainous Loki, but he has done other work outside of Marvel. Ryan, name 3 Tom Hiddleston movies that are not Marvel.
Right. That are not Marvel. You have these movies listed?
I'm as we talk, I am pulling up his IMDb, so yes.
Okay. I think I can get this one.
I think you might. I should have made it 4 or 5, but I know at least one I think you'll get right away.
And that one, obviously, is one that we talk about on the show quite a bit, and we're both big fans of, which is Only Lovers Left Alive.
Well done. That's the one I thought you would get right away. There's another one that I'm pretty sure you'll also get.
The second one, which you think we're pretty sure I'm going to get, is Kong Skull Island.
That's it. But can you come up with a third?
Now, it does get tricky. And
yes, it does.
He played, and I might butcher the title of the movie, but he played, I think it's Hank Williams, and I'm going to go with Born to Be Blue.
Give yourself the buzzer.
Oh, that wasn't him?
That was Ethan Hawke, dude.
Oh, that's who I was thinking of. Oh, no.
Outside of the Marvel films, we also would have accepted The Night Manager, Crimson Peak, High Rise, Warhorse, Midnight in Paris, Ryan, I Saw the Light, and I think what you might have been thinking is The Deep Blue Sea.
No, I Saw the Light is the movie. I Saw the Light is the movie that I was thinking of.
Oh, okay, yeah. He played Hank Williams in that movie.
Okay. Oh, I butchered. I switched those two around. Son of a gun. Yeah.
Ugh, sorry, buddy. All right, maybe you can make it up on this question. I actually think this is the one that I was really nervous about because it's just a simple answer. If you know it, you know it, and if you don't, you don't. Chris Evans, as we all know, is Captain America. But what is the superhero code name of his best friend, Anthony Mackie? Anthony Mackie's character. Oh, I love the look of concentration on your face right now. It's precious.
Well, I was about to take a guess because I think like, oh, that's so obvious. It's this, but I'm not sure it's that. I don't know my code names. I remember the first Captain America had the Red Skull guy in it, and that was Hugo Weaving.
Mm-hmm.
Then his friend. I don't know if that's what the title of the movie was. Maybe it was, but maybe it's not. I'm going to say Winter Soldier.
Ryan, you're thinking of Sebastian Stan's character.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
that's what I'm totally thinking of.
Anthony Mackie plays Falcon, the guy with the wings.
Oh. Okay.
You totally mixed up his buddies.
I did. I totally thought we were going for Winter Soldier.
But I might have thrown you off when I said best friend because it's true. Bucky as the Winter Soldier was his best friend from way, way back in the day. But in modern times, his best buddy is Falcon, Anthony Mackie. So sorry if I threw you off there.
Very tricky. Very tricky.
Very tricky. Very tricky. This one, again, I think you might know. I'm nervous. Sam Raimi, as we all know, directed the Spider-Man movies, the first of the Spider-Man movies. But he has done some other stuff, Ryan. Now, I think you're pretty familiar with Sam Raimi, so I'm going to set this bar a little higher than usual. Name 5 Sam Raimi films.
Besides the Spider-Man movies?
Yeah, those don't count.
What?
Those don't count. Those don't count. But if you think, there's probably a few you can get like right off the top.
All right. So we got Evil Dead.
There's one.
Evil Dead 2.
There's two. You see what I'm saying now?
But I don't think he did Evil Dead 3.
No, I don't think he did.
So we'll pin it there. So I got 2. How many do I got to name?
5. Is that too hard?
Hell yeah. I mean 5 Sam Raimis outside of the Spider-Man?
I'll give you a hint, okay? There is
Go ahead. There is a what? Go on, I'll take a hint.
There is a third Evil Dead movie, but it is not called Evil Dead 3.
Okay.
You're a fan of his work, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I really like this movie too that he did. Oh my God, now I'm going to be stuck on it with The Curse. It's got a great scene in there with the old lady. I've talked about how much I like this, and I don't think you've seen this particular horror film.
No, I need to catch up with it.
So there's that one. I don't have to name it. We all know that I know what we're talking about. What the heck is the name of that movie?
That's really this is the key. If you can figure this one out, I think you might get it. I'll back it down to 4. Okay. I'll back it down to 4. That's my confidence level.
Wow. Let me have a sip of beer. What the hell was the name of that movie?
I can't help you, man. There's no lifelines in Stump the Movie Guy.
It's funny too, because I've talked about how much I like this film.
And there's others you're not thinking of that you're going to kick yourself. But this is one you need to definitely.
Okay, I'm going to go outside of the box. Can I take a guess on one that I might be completely wrong, but I thought he directed The Gift.
Ding. He did direct The Gift.
Wow, I nailed that. I wasn't positive on that one. Okay, so I got The Gift.
He just needs one more, ladies and gentlemen. One more Sam Raimi movie. Just so the Jawheads know, he has 39 director's credits on IMDb. Those may not all be films. Some of those are shorts and commercials and whatnot, but he's fairly prolific.
Oh my God. Man, that one, now I'm just stuck on that one particular film that I want to name so much.
Oh, I just want to let the Jawheads know how amazingly sweet this feels to be on the other end of this torture. I'm gonna put a clock on it, dude. I mean, I want to stump you. I kind of want you to win, but at the same time, I don't want to give it to you.
I'm not going to go for that movie. Let me think of something else because
okay,
I would be able to get that movie. It's stuck. Now I'm just constantly thinking of. All right, so I'll go with another Sam Raimi movie, and I'll go with. There's another Evil Dead movie, he said, but it's not Evil Dead 3. So I'm going to go with. Oh, okay. I'm going to go. I don't know if he did this. Complete guess here. Since we're at 10 seconds, I could be wrong. I'm going Cabin in the Woods. That was just a guess at the end. What was the movie that I
Drag Me to Hell is the movie you were trying to think of.
Yes, Drag Me to Hell.
And no, Drew Goddard directed Cabin in the Woods, not Sam Raimi. Let me tell you some of the films that you missed because you will kick yourself, my friend. Sam Raimi is an amazing director, and he's directed such hits as the Evil Dead movies we mentioned. Army of Darkness is the third. Oz, the Great and Powerful, Ryan. We sat next to each other in the theater and watched that movie. The Gift you mentioned, A Simple Plan, you've brought up on the show before.
And I love that one. And I'm always shocked that that's Sam Raimi, and here I forgot it. Yep.
For the Love of the Game.
He did For the Love of the Game?
He did For the Love of the Game.
I would have never known that. Yeah. Okay.
He did a Western, The Quick and the Dead.
Uh-huh.
And then the 1990 superhero gem, Darkman.
Interesting.
Yeah, which probably led to Spider-Man. But those are the big ones. Those are the high water marks for Sam Raimi. And then, of course, the Spider-Man films.
Right, yeah. Spider-Man movies. Whew.
Tough. Once again.
Succeeds with stumping the movie guy. So we'll play Stump the Movie Guy again next time we don't have a guest.
I know. I gotta make it easier next time for you, Ryan.
These are tough ones, I tell you.
It was
I should
good.
know my Sam Raimi, though. This is fun.
It is fun.
Brings us to the end of a great Jaw. Matt, we got to thank our sponsors.
Yes, thanks to Overcast and the Chicago Podcast Co-op who help us get great sponsors like them.
If you want to support Cinemajaw, the easiest way to do so is by leaving us a review wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And while you're at it, please click subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. And we're also on Patreon at patreon.com/Cinemajaw.
Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt Kay.
And keep on jawing about the movies.